YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back, and I got another Breakout Players of the Year video for every single team. We actually did one yesterday covering the offensive breakout players for every single NFL team. Today, this video right here, the defensive players for every single team. So we're going to go through all the teams, and I try to go with some sleeper choices. I don't always want to go with the obvious choices of each team, but pretty cool. We get an offense. Each team gets two guys, basically. Offense, defense, two separate videos. So check out that other video if you haven't quite yet. We got plenty of videos on the channel, plenty more to come. Subscriber goal is at 20K. We're almost there thanks to the sport. We got daily sports videos, specialized in the NFL. So subscription, clicking the like button would be much appreciated if you haven't done any of those yet. Checking out our Twitter, GOAT House NFL, link in the description, would also be much appreciated. We answer any questions and have polls for you guys with NFL questions there. So each team will go in alphabetical order like we did with the other video, starting with the Cardinals. And I went with HAASON Reddick, the linebacker. A few years ago was a first-round pick. He was a pass rusher. I had him as a pass rusher in the draft. They move him to inside. They move him to inside linebacker. Questionable, and he hasn't quite figured it out yet, and that might be why. So if they did switch the defense a little bit, new coaching staff there, so that could be what he needs. And maybe they move him back outside. Most likely they keep him inside, but you know, another year learning this, a change with the coaching staff, I think it could be what he needs. I also think if they don't move him outside, they could use him, you know, where his strengths are at, you know, as a pass rusher, maybe in blitz packages. So I think he steps up this year. Could go with a few other guys. I know people were waiting for Kim Dichie to step up. You know, Buda Baker's kind of already shown that he's a solid safety. So I went with Reddick here. On to the Falcons. The Falcons had quite a few options here, and I said I wanted to go with sleepers, but I'll get in why. I went with the obvious choice here, and I'll get into why. But some of the sleepers that I could have chose were Isaiah Oliver, Colorado corner from last year, lengthy corner. He's going to step up this year. And Deadrian Sanats, the defensive tackle from South Florida. I liked him as a sleeper in the draft class last year. I think he steps up. He actually could start along with Grady Jarrett. But why did I go with the obvious choice in Takk McKinley? Because I think this is a prime breakout candidate, not just for the Falcons, but for the whole NFL. I think this guy leads the team in sacks. I think he gets double-digit sacks. I think he's easily top 10 in sacks this year. He's already been solid, but I think he really steps up. This guy's shown on the field that he has the potential to be a very solid pass rusher and can break out right here in this year. So I'm really looking forward to Takk McKinley. And to the Ravens. The Ravens are next. They have a bunch of choices, too. I went with a guy they just signed in Shane Ray. So much upside. Was supposed to be, you know, some people viewed him as elite prospect, drop because off-field concerns, but still doesn't take away from his talent. I think the Broncos kind of ruined him a little bit. They didn't really use him right. And, you know, Martindale and the Ravens, they'll use them right over there, I think. And they needed pass rushers. I know they have a long – I literally could have put any of their pass rushers here. Tim Williams, Bowser – I could have put any of those guys here. Kenny Young, the inside linebacker, going to step up. There's so many guys. Anthony Averett. The Ravens have a long list of young depth, and any of those guys can step up. I chose Ray because, you know, pass rush is so key, and I know he has a lot more in him than what we've seen, and I think the Ravens will get it out of him. You know, maybe they want to go with Bowser and Williams a little more, but they haven't really shown us that. And, you know, and the reason they signed Ray is because they think they need him. So I think they like Ray. I think he could start with Judon, and I think he can have himself a year and really revive his career with the right team here, a new team. So we'll see. I like Ray. I like that signing a lot. Was surprised that the Ravens picked him up, but it was a good one. The Bills, I went with Tremaine Edmunds. You know, an obvious choice here. You know, we're still waiting for Lawson to pick it up. You know, it seems, you know, to me, I think he's more of a 3-4 end. That's why I think he hasn't really figured it out yet. He can definitely be a solid rotation, or even if he starts. And then I just think Edmunds is that guy. You know, if you remember me covering the draft last year, Edmunds was one of my favorite players in the draft. He might have been my favorite player. Not number one, but I had him up there. He was top 5 player for me. And, you know, looking at his tape, you can see the potential. But we knew that he was a little raw. It might take a little bit to get that potential, but I was in love with that potential. And he already played really, really well last year. So I think after this year, we're looking at Edmunds as one of the best middle linebackers in all of the NFL. So that's why Edmunds is up here. I know it's the obvious choice. That's why he's up here. Panthers, I went with RASHAAN GAULDEN because he's going to have to step up. I think he's going to start at safety. Former Tennessee corner. I did like him at corner, possibly in the slot. They moved him to safety. He's athletic and he's instinctive, and they really need him to step up, and he will. So that's definitely a young guy to look out for the Panthers, who definitely need help in that secondary, but some guys like this will step up, the young guys. To the Bears, I think pretty easy choice here, BILAL Nichols. He didn't start last year. I think he moves into that starting role this year instead of Jonathan Bullard. I think he starts there with opposite of Akeem Hicks with Eddie Goldman, and he shown signs that he can do this. He can take over this job in this Bears defense, because he was very solid in his opportunities last year. Small school guy last year, didn't really expect him to really step up. So I think he breaks out as a starter this year. I know they changed defense coordinator, so that could affect it a little bit if he starts or not, but that's definitely the one to look out for the Chicago Bears. The Bengals, I like Sam Hubbard. The obvious choice could have been Jesse Bates, my guy from last year's draft class. But he was one of the better safeties last year. I think he can end up being one of the better safeties in all of football. So that was the obvious choice. To me, Sam Hubbard, I think, could actually be their best pass rusher this year. He didn't really get the opportunities early in the season, and then he finally was getting more opportunities as the season went on, and he still had, I think it was 6 sacks. So, he's a smart pass rusher, not the most athletic guy, but he gets the job done, and he'll get to the quarterback. So I think he's the breakout guy to look out for Cincinnati, but they got a lot of young guys, second-year guys to look out for there. Cleveland, speaking of second-year guy, I like GENARD AVERY. I liked him a lot out of Memphis. What I liked about him as a prospect was he was a do-it-all linebacker, and the reason he dropped this was because we didn't know where he's going to play. Where is this guy going to play? Is he a pass rush linebacker? Is he an off-the-ball linebacker? What is he? Because he really does it all, and that's why I think people slept on him. And that's why he's so good. It's because he does it all. You can put him at any linebacker spot. He can get after the quarterback on blitzes, whether it's a pass rush spot or a blitz. He can cover. He can tackle. So I think now's his time to fill a big role at that Cleveland linebacker unit, which is very solid. And I think he has himself a year. He already had a good rookie year, but I think more and more people know the name GENARD AVERY after this year. To Dallas, Chidobe Awuzie is my pick, and people want this to be Taco Charlton. How come Taco Charlton hasn't stepped up yet? It's a good question, and he can step up. They bring in Robert Quinn, so I don't know if they really believe in Taco to start. I know they believe in him, but not really to start and to perform as a breakout player. Awuzie, you could argue somewhat he broke out already because he's starting. He's very solid. He can play in the slot, can play outside, but not too many people know about Awuzie. Even when I do the graphics for these, I'm trying to find a picture of this guy. It was really hard to find a picture of him in a Cowboys uniform with the correct jersey number. So not enough people know Awuzie. I love this guy's game. I loved his game out of Colorado. He's a football player. That's what he is. So I think after this year, this is one of my favorite candidates here, because I think after this year, not only do people know Chidobe Awuzie, they know how to say his name, and they think that he could be a top 10 corner in the NFL after this year. So that's one of my favorite ones. The Broncos, Isaac Yiadom, former Boston College corner. I like his game a lot. Liked it a lot out of Boston College. Really was a balanced, corner. Didn't have any weaknesses by that. So I think, and he really needs to step up this year. And you got Vic Fangio in there, really good at working with these corners. No more Bradley Roby, so Yiadom showing signs that he can be their number one corner if Chris Harris is out, which could be soon. So I think he can do that this year, Yiadom. So I like him as the Denver Broncos breakout candidate. The Lions, I went Tracy Walker. He had a really, really quiet but good rookie season. Not too many people know Tracy Walker, and his name spelled a little wrong there in the graphic. Apologize for that, but it's okay. Everyone knows, any Lions fans know Tracy Walker. So a very good rookie season. I was actually surprised about that draft pick. I think they traded up to get him, and I was a little surprised. I thought that they took him a little early, but he looked really good last year, and I think he finds his way in that starting role at the safety position, kind of a do-it-all safety. To the Packers, a lot of choices you can go here with the Packers. I went OREN BURKS. I think he starts, and he's another one of those do-it-all linebackers. He can cover. I like the way he gets after the quarterback on blitzes, though, and he's kind of going to fly around the field, make some tackles. I think he steps up next to Blake Martinez, starts at that middle linebacker role. He actually could be better than Blake Martinez very early in his career, too. Could have went with one of the corners. Alexander would have been way too obvious. Josh Jackson I like a lot. Really considered Josh Jackson. But OREN BURKS, I think, is the better choice, a little more bold choice, so I went with him. I think big things from him coming up. To the Texans. I wanted Carlos Watkins, a guy that I've been waiting for to step up. You know, he was a Clemson defensive lineman. He got pressure for an interior defensive lineman, and I thought he'd be more of a 4-3 D tackle. And a 3-4 team drafts him, and that's perfectly fine with me because, you know, he gets after the quarterback if he plays 3-4 end. And so now is his time. He's learned this defense, a little bit of an adjustment, so now is his time to figure it out. And I think they need help there, so I think he can step up this year there for the Texans. To the Colts, a million options for the Colts as well. I went with TYQUAN Lewis, though, the pass rusher from Ohio State last year. He originally was a D tackle. They moved him to defensive end, and his signs, you know, the signs he showed that mean that he can do this. He can be that pass rusher. And I know they brought in Justin Houston, but I think he's going to be a key rotation guy early on, and I think he'll take over a starting job there mid-season, probably maybe a little earlier, with Justin Houston possibly. So he gets after the quarterback, he can play. And he can stop the run with the defensive tackle experience. So I do like TYQUAN Lewis, but you know, you could go with another pass rusher, go Kamoko Toure, who was a rookie last year, as a pass rusher. You can go with really a long list of any of those DBs, which some of them I'm kind of waiting for Quincy Wilson to step up, but I really like Lewis here as the choice. To the Jags, excuse me, I like TAVEN BRYAN, you know, another rookie from last year. He's a first-round player, but they were already set at the starting position with their defensive tackles, with Darius and with Malik Jackson, who's now gone. So now it's time for Bryan to step up. So they plan for the future here, and he was a pass-rushing defensive lineman. That's what they want. So he can really, I guess, fill out the stat sheets as a defensive tackle. So I think he gets the opportunity, and that's why he's a breakout player this year. To the Chiefs, TANOH from Villanova a couple years ago, actually. And I was high on him, but we knew he was a raw guy. He was a potential guy, a lot of upside. And I viewed him as a 4-3 end. You know, he was a freakish athlete. So as soon as a pass rusher is a freakish athlete, everyone's like, oh, 3-4 outside linebacker. That's not the case. You know, people overreact with that stuff. He's a 4-3 end. And the Chiefs ran a 3-4, so questionable draft pick with their defense. Well, guess what? They changed to a 4-3. They got rid of their two best pass rushers. I know they have a long list of guys that, you know, they don't have any elite guys besides Frank Clark, but they got a long list of guys that can play, so it's going to be hard for these guys to stay on the field. But I think it's his time now. I think it's his time. He's in the right defense. He's got the upside, and I think he steps up. This is one of my favorite ones, but it's also a risky one for me because, you know, he may not be on the field a whole bunch because they have a long list of guys. Now the Chargers. KYZIR White, former safety from West Virginia, kind of a box safety, hard-hitting safety. They're moving him to linebacker last year, and I like the move. And guys that move positions, they need time. We didn't see a lot of him last year. I think he also got hurt. So I think we're going to see some of him this year. Does he start? I don't think so, but I think he gets on in the field. I think he can cover tight ends. I think he can be used in blitz packages, and we know he can cover because he played safety. So I think we see a lot of him. I also considered Uchenna Nwosu from USC. I think he's an interesting one in that defense because he used to be a pass rusher, but he can cover as well. So I do like him in that defense. So one of these linebackers they got that are kind of adjusting their positions a little bit, I think ends up being the breakout guy. So I went more of the bold prediction there in KYZIR White. Nwosu, we expect some things from him, you know, a little more than White. To the Rams, I like Tanzell Smart. I really like this one because you know, they let Sue go because they have belief in Smart. You know, rookie a couple years ago out of Tulane, and he was hurt last year, unfortunately. Now he's healthy, and they're confident about him. That's why they don't think they need some of those D linemen back. I think he actually can start, and I think he can actually make an impact there with Donald and with Brockers. So Smart is definitely a guy that, you know, has been forgotten other than, you know, outside Rams fans probably. Got to look out for it too. The Dolphins, easy one here. Charles Harris, now is his time. This is a first-round prospect a couple years ago out of Missouri. I had him as a first-round prospect, and he hasn't done it yet. He hasn't quite done it, and he was a good pass rusher with some strength that can stop the run as well. And now they get Brian Flores in there, and they need pass rushers, and more pass rushers. And Charles Harris is here. He's ready to step up. This guy has to step up, and I think he will. I don't think he's going to have some crazy season, but I think he will. So that's one of my favorite ones to watch out for, too. I really liked his game out of Missouri there. The Vikings, another one of my favorite ones, JALYN HOLMES, defensive tackle. They drafted him a year ago. Weird, because we were talking about TYQUAN Lewis from Ohio State last year with the Colts. He moved from D tackle to D end. JALYN HOLMES was a very solid pass rusher from Ohio State, and the Vikings get him. and they move him to D tackle, and he needs to gain the weight, though. They want him at the 3 technique position. And he needs to gain weight, though. So he didn't dress at all last year. He didn't play at all. And apparently he's up to 300 pounds. And the Vikings, well-known defensive line coach Andre Patterson was saying a name to remember, Jalen Holmes. So I'm telling you right now, it's a name to remember. I actually think he starts alongside Linval Joseph. I think he replaces Sheldon Richardson, and they were planning for that. So it's a guy to watch out for here. I'm really excited to see him and how he is changing positions. To the Patriots, DEATRICH Weiss, I think a pretty obvious choice. I thought about Duke Dawson. I think could be the nickel back there from Florida, who they drafted last year. But DEATRICH Weiss, he's shown signs in the playoffs. He was looking pretty good. He was getting some good pressure in the playoffs, forcing some things there. And I think he needs to step up big time now that Trey Flowers is gone. I know they got Michael Bennett too, but DEATRICH Weiss showed signs that he can do this. So I like him for the Patriots. The Saints, pretty obvious choice here. Marcus Davenport. He was showing signs. He really could have been the defensive rookie of the year. He was in the running at least last year. Got hurt a couple times. So if he stays healthy, he's going to be a very solid and productive pass rusher, and that's why the Saints traded a first-round pick to get him. They knew that. So he really, if he stays healthy, he actually can lead the team in sacks over Cameron Jordan. I think that's very realistic. The Giants, I love this one too. Lorenzo Carter, outside linebacker, the pass rusher, former Georgia Bulldog, and he dropped a little bit further than I thought he would go in the draft because teams didn't really know if he was an off-the-ball linebacker, just a pass-rushing linebacker. I liked him at pass rush, and that's what he fits the Giants. 3-4 outside linebacker, and they needed a pass rush. They needed guys that can step up for this year. I think Carter starts, and I think he's very solid. I think he has some good production. To the Jets, I went with Nathan Shepard, small school guy. They drafted kind of early last year, but he had a lot of production. He can get after the quarterback for a D lineman. I think he's a rotation guy. There really wasn't too many options for the Jets, but I think this guy's a rotation guy and really steps up this year. To the Raiders. I like Maurice Hurst, another guy. He was a first-round talent, but dropped because of a heart condition. Stayed on the field last year, was pretty productive, and I think he plays like that first-round talent this year. I think he really goes off. And, the reason they were more interested in the pass rusher, they tried to trade up for Nick Bosa, and they took Cleveland Farrell, because they know what they have here at defensive tackle. And they need a pass rush. So Maurice Hurst got to definitely look out for. Eagles, might be my favorite one on the list. Derek Barnett. I had him as an elite prospect in his draft class out of Tennessee, an elite pass rusher prospect, and unfortunately got hurt. And he would contribute in a big way when they won a Super Bowl, and obviously got hurt last year. Hopefully he stays healthy this year, because if he is, he's their best pass rusher, and I think he can be a Pro Bowl pass rusher. Hopefully the injury doesn't affect his play. Hopefully he stays healthy, because this guy is darn good. To the Steelers, I like Bud Dupree. We've been waiting for this guy to break out. He's been solid. He's been getting some production, not at the first-round level, though. He's playing on the contract year. And I think he really steps up this year. He's actually shown slight improvement, very slight, but it's getting there. So I think it shows signs that he's just ready to just break out right now. So went with Bud Dupree here. Could be Edmunds at safety. They drafted last year too, but I'm liking Dupree on the contract year. Seattle, Rasheem Green, they drafted him last year for defensive end. I thought he was more of a 3-4 end. They drafted him for 4-3 end, or maybe they want to slide him into 3 technique. Either way, he's a very talented player. Another year learning the new defense, new position. I think he can step up, and they need him this year. And they drafted Collier too, which I would actually compare the two. I think they're very, very similar. And I know they got Ziggy Ansah, but he's currently hurt, could be hurt. So I think two very similar guys there that'll battle it out, Collier and Green. So I'm really looking forward to Green, who we didn't see enough of last year, but I think we'll see this year. The Niners went with Akello Witherspoon. He was one of my favorite corners from Colorado a couple years ago. Lengthy corner, very instinctive. Learning from Richard Sherman more and more here. I think he's shown signs he could be really good last year. So I think he really steps up this year. Another young corner that can make his way in the top 10 corner conversation early on in his career here. Tampa Bay, Noah Spence. I like this one a lot too, because Noah Spence, I thought, was a 3-4 outside linebacker. Didn't view him as a 4-3 end, which he was kind of rotating in with the Bucks. They're switching to a 3-4 now, so he's going to play that outside linebacker role, and he's athletic enough to play it, and I think he can thrive in this position. They also have Pierre Paul, who could be out for the season, and they need pass rush guys to step up. So I think now is his time here. For the Tennessee Titans, very easy one. Another one of my favorite ones on this list, Harold Landry. I had him as a top 10 player in the draft last year. Somehow he goes second round. Still mind blown by that. He was right there, borderline elite pass rusher prospect. Also, kind of can work on stopping the run. I think he's shown signs of that this past year. But now I think he's gets more of the opportunity. He's always in there playing that role as the pass rusher. I think he leads the Tennessee Titans in sacks, and I think he could be a future top-tier pass rusher. Then to the Redskins, a ton of choices for the Redskins. A lot of Alabama guys I could went with, and I still went with an Alabama guy, Jonathan Allen. Jonathan Allen was supposed to be an elite prospect. He had an injury scare, dropped in the draft a little bit. Also had an injury scare his rookie season, and he's been solid since being drafted, though. He's been solid, but he hasn't been that elite, what he was supposed to be minus the injury, elite prospect. I think that happens this year. I think he breaks out. He's a defensive lineman in a 3-4, so you expect him to stop the run first, and I think the bonus is him getting after the quarterback, and I think he really does that there. Like I said, he could have went with a couple Alabama guys there on the D-line, the linebackers. John Hamilton's going to have to step up. Ryan Anderson's going to have to step up. Deron Payne another year. Then looking at the corners, really, too. Fabian Moreau, I liked him a lot at UCLA a couple years ago. Greg Stroman had a very solid rookie season out of Virginia Tech. So I think there's a long list of guys for the Redskins. But I did go with the more obvious choice, but that's because I think he's a prime candidate for an NFL breakout player. I think he could be a Pro Bowler. So definitely a guy to look out for. Is that all the teams? That is all the teams here. If you don't agree with any of these, if you think I missed on somebody for your favorite team or any team, please let me know in the comments. It's one of those videos where I want to see your guys break out. I want to really look at the comments, your breakout players for defense and offense. We have an offensive video up too. We got 2 of these videos, so every team has 2 breakout players. So check those out. And plenty more videos on the channel, plenty more to come. Please subscribe if you haven't quite yet. Daily sports videos just like these. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.